Why are there not more people talking about the unsettling stillness of old houses? The old house creaked around Maya. Each groan of the floorboards, every sigh of the wind through the drafty windows felt like a living presence. She was alone tonight, in this aging suburban home, a place that felt more like a mausoleum than a dwelling. The silence was the most unsettling thing. No hum of traffic, no distant sirens, just an oppressive quiet that pressed in on her ears. Even the usual nighttime symphony of crickets seemed to have gone silent.
The lights flickered. A shiver ran down my spine. This house had always had its quirks, but tonight, it felt different. There was an edge to the air, a tension that made the hairs on my arms stand on end. Something was wrong. I could feel it.
The silence was broken by a new sound, a sound that seemed to come from the very depths of the house, a soft scratching coming from the basement door, barely noticeable at first, but growing louder with each passing second. Maya froze, her heart pounding against her ribs, each beat echoing in her ears like a drum. She strained to hear, every nerve ending on high alert, her senses heightened by the oppressive silence of the house. The scratching came again, more insistent this time, as if something on the other side was desperate to get out. It was followed by a low whisper, barely audible, but enough to send chills down Maya's spine, making her skin prickle with fear. She couldn't make out the words, but the voice sent a shiver down her spine, a cold dread settling in her stomach.
Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through my apprehension, making my breath hitch and my hands tremble. I had always hated that door, the way it loomed at the end of the hallway, a constant reminder of the unknown. It was old, warped wood, painted a sickly yellow that seemed to absorb the light, casting a shadow that felt almost alive. A heavy padlock hung from it, but it had been broken for years, left dangling like a macabre decoration, a silent guardian of whatever lay beyond.
She remembered Tom's words, spoken with a gravity that belied his usual jovial nature, words that now seemed prophetic.
"Never go down there, Maya, not unless I'm with you." His voice had been firm, leaving no room for argument.
Tom, her boyfriend, was usually unfazed by the quirks of the old house, but this was different. This was serious. His warning echoed in her mind, a chilling counterpoint to the whispers coming from the basement, a reminder of the danger that lurked just beyond that door. Tom. He was supposed to be back by now. The clock on the wall ticked louder with each passing second, amplifying the silence that filled the room. He'd gone to help his brother with a project, promised he'd be back before nightfall. But now, the shadows outside had grown long, and the night seemed endless. But darkness had fallen hours ago, and the only light in the house was the eerie flicker of the living room lamp. The shadows it cast danced on the walls, creating shapes that seemed almost alive. She pulled out her phone. No signal. Typical. The old house always seemed to have a way of cutting off communication, as if it had a mind of its own. The old house seemed to repel all modern conveniences, its presence a barrier against the outside world. It stood like a sentinel, guarding its secrets jealously.
The whispers from the basement grew louder, more insistent. They seemed to call out, beckoning me to come closer, to uncover whatever lay hidden in the darkness. A cold dread settled over me, a creeping fear that sank its teeth into my courage and refused to let go. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat echoing in my ears. I had to get out of here. The walls seemed to close in, the air growing thicker with each breath I took. Panic surged through me, pushing me to move faster. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. The house felt alive, its very essence filled with malice and intent. The whispers, the broken lock, Tom's warning, it all added up to a picture I didn't want to see. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, revealing a truth too horrifying to comprehend.
The scratching escalated into a rhythmic thump, each sound growing more insistent, more demanding. It was as if the very walls of the house were alive, pulsating with the relentless noise. A slow, deliberate knock that resonated through the house, each thud a hammer blow against Maya's sanity. The sound echoed in the empty hallways, amplifying her growing sense of dread. Her breath caught in her throat, her pulse a frantic drumbeat against her eardrums. She could feel her heart racing, each beat a reminder of her vulnerability. She tried Tom's number again. Still nothing. The screen remained stubbornly blank, mocking her with its silence. The silence of the phone was more terrifying than the noises from the basement. It was a void, an abyss that swallowed her cries for help. It was a tangible reminder of her isolation, of the miles of empty road that separated her from help. The darkness outside seemed to press in, suffocating her with its weight.
The knocking grew more forceful, rattling the old door on its hinges. Each blow felt like it was driving nails into her resolve, weakening her defenses. A wave of dizziness washed over me, making the room spin. The walls seemed to close in, trapping me in a nightmare I couldn't escape. I stumbled back, my hand instinctively reaching for the wall to steady myself. The cold surface was a stark contrast to the heat of my panic. The whispers intensified, morphing into a chorus of voices, murmuring just beyond the veil of comprehension. They seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, filling the air with their sinister presence. Words slithered through the cracks of the basement door, their meaning obscured but their intent chillingly clear. They were a promise of what was to come, a harbinger of the terror that awaited.
Panic surged through Maya.
I have to get out. I have to escape this suffocating terror.
She ran to the front door, fumbling with the lock, her fingers clumsy and uncoordinated. It wouldn't open. The deadbolt, usually smooth, was jammed tight. She rattled the handle, threw her weight against the door, but it wouldn't budge.
No, this can't be happening.
Trapped. The word echoed in Maya's mind, a death knell to her hopes of escape. She spun around, her eyes darting to the windows, the back door, any possible escape route, but the house had other plans. The windows refused to budge. The back door, like the front, was bolted shut, a physical manifestation of the unseen force that held her captive. There was no escape. She was trapped, alone with the whispers and the knocking and the growing certainty that something evil lurked just beyond that basement door.
What is happening? Why won't anything open?
The knocking stopped. The sudden silence was more unnerving than the noise had been. It was the silence of anticipation, of a predator toying with its prey. And then, slowly, the basement door creaked open.
Oh no.
A cold, stale air wafted from the opening, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and something else. Something ancient and unnameable. The faint green glow intensified, illuminating a set of rickety wooden stairs that descended into the darkness.
Curiosity, a dangerous counterpoint to my fear, drew me closer. I had to see, had to know what lurked in the shadows.
Step by hesitant step, she made her way down the stairs, her hand trailing along the rough-hewn wall. The air grew colder, heavier, each breath a struggle against the oppressive atmosphere, and then she saw it. The basement was a shrine. Candles flickered, casting grotesque shadows on the walls. Strange symbols, etched into the stone foundation, pulsed with an eerie inner light. In the center of the room, a single folding chair sat facing a flickering television screen. On the chair lay a VHS tape, its label blank.
A compulsion, cold and alien, gripped me. I reached for the tape, my fingers trembling as I lifted it from the worn fabric of the chair.
The whispers started again, but this time they were different. They were closer, clearer, and they seemed to emanate from the tape itself.
Watch.
See the truth.
Headlights slashed through the darkness, momentarily blinding Maya. Relief, sweet and overwhelming, washed over her. Tom. He was back.
I ran to the door, fumbled with the lock, my fingers finally finding purchase. The door swung open and Tom's concerned face was illuminated by the porch light.
Maya, what's wrong? Why didn't you answer your phone?
His words were lost in the rush of adrenaline, the overwhelming need to escape the nightmare of the house. She stumbled into his arms, burying her face in his chest, clinging to him as if he were a lifeline.
Don't leave me, please, just don't leave me.
Tom held her close, his voice a soothing balm against the fear that threatened to consume her.
It's okay, I'm here now. I'm not going anywhere.
He led her inside, closing the door firmly behind them. But even as the warmth of his embrace enveloped her, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. A sound, barely audible at first, drifted from the basement door. A slow, deliberate knock. Tom stiffened, his eyes widening in alarm. He turned towards the sound, his grip on Maya's hand tightening.
What was that?
The knocking came again, louder this time, more insistent. And then, from the other side of the door, a voice, cold and menacing, whispered,
"Let her watch."
If you enjoyed this chilling tale, please subscribe and like the video for more spine-tingling stories.